That game is now at the United Center, biggest arena in the NBA, not Sky's typical home court. And we've already seen the effect on Indiana Fever ticket prices. The cost just to get in the arenas for the Fever's next 2 road games, way cheaper today than 2 days ago before the news broke Monday that Clark was out with a left quad strain. It's now just $22 to get in tomorrow's road game against the Washington Mystics. That was almost half the $41 it was Sunday. The June 7th game in Chicago now down to $25, and you see there that's more than a 70% drop off in the $86.
Suddenly, the WNBA is taking off. The house of cards they constructed around her is collapsing in real time, and the golden goose is down. We're talking about Caitlin Clark, the league's top player, suffering an injury, and the consequences have been immediate and devastating. When it was announced that Clark would miss time due to a quad strain, a wild thing began to happen. WNBA ticket prices crashed, not dipped, not slid, but crashed like falling off a cliff levels. This isn't speculation. It's data, numbers, and hard reality that the WNBA was completely unprepared for, because now that Clark is out, the league is being forced to face the truth they've been avoiding for months. Without Caitlin, the entire thing doesn't work. Prior to Clark's injury, WNBA ticket resale sites were booming, and you couldn't find tickets to a Fever game for less than $150 in some markets. They were selling out of upper decks. Small arenas were giving way to NBA-sized stadiums for games in order to handle the Clark effect. Colin Cowherd highlighted Caitlin Clark's revolutionary influence on the WNBA in a recent episode of The Herd, claiming that she is rescuing the league.
So associate professor of finance at Indiana University broke down the economic scale of Caitlin Clark, who is just a phenomenon. So she generated last year 26.5% as a rookie on a terrible team. 26.5% of the economic activity in the league.
He emphasized the league's prior issues with revenue and exposure, pointing out that Clark's arrival had greatly increased ticket sales, attendance, and general interest. Clark is the best business player in the league's history, according to Cowherd, who compared her effect to those of sports greats like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods.
Attendance for the league rose 30%. The valuation of the Fever, $90 million for the Fever before she arrived, now $340 million. That's 4 times. 4 times valuation increase. LeBron didn't do that when he went back to Cleveland. He certainly didn't do it going to Miami or the Lakers. MJ didn't do that with the Bulls. We're talking one player. She is Steve Jobs. She's taking an insolvent company and turning it into a powerhouse.
Clark's contribution to the league's rise in prominence and financial success was crucial because fans weren't merely purchasing tickets. They were battling for them. Currently $9, it's not a typo. Tickets for Indiana Fever games are currently available for less than $10. Consider that from secondary market markups and sellouts to costs less than a fast food meal additionally. Tickets for Indiana road games are also becoming less and less available. Now that the hard reality is finally hitting everyone in the face, every city that placed a large wager on Caitlin Clark, from Washington, D.C. to Chicago to Atlanta, is suddenly facing a mountain of refund requests and thousands of unsold seats. Rather than the WNBA, they were there to see Caitlin Clark. And the illusion is crumbling now that she's gone. Let's be explicit. Caitlin Clark did more than just sell tickets. She was offering them hope, a vision, and a WNBA that they could trust. New, explosive, and thrilling. ESPN broke viewership records by riding that wave. Products were flying off the shelves. To take advantage of Clark's star power, media outlets completely changed their coverage techniques. However, what happens if the PR machine, ticket sales strategy, advertising pitch, and marketing plan are all centered around one individual? You get this a panic spiral, to put it bluntly. Caitlin Clark was singled out from the first game. She was hacked, shoved, and fouled, and the referees did nothing. The league continued to tolerate the brutality night after night. They allowed their star attraction to be undermined, and now it has cost them everything, whether it was because to jealousy, politics, or simple ineptitude. Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, stated what everyone else already knew: Caitlin Clark is not being protected.
Oh, I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right?
Clark is put out with no call while other players receive whistle after whistle for the slightest bump. She is pushed off screens, tugged by her jersey, and slammed on drives without making a call. While the officials stand there like statues, she absorbs playoff-level physicality every night during the regular season. Now, her own coach is stating it aloud. This is how one fan vented his fury. Caitlin Clark missed 2 weeks of work due to a quad strain. Let's start by acknowledging that while injuries may occur, overuse of the muscles can cause muscular strains. She must put in more effort to reach where she wants to go because she is being detained and fouled the entire game. The WNBA said, "Let's call fouls." To connect the dots, you don't need to be an expert. A preseason game was missed by Clark due to quad soreness. After that, she returns without any whistle protection, is thrown around like a crash dummy for 4 games in a row, and has a quad injury that forces her to leave the game. This wasn't a coincidence. This could have been avoided. The WNBA is currently dealing with the fallout from their carelessness. In every boardroom from coast to coast, the lights are going down, the emergency button is being smashed, and their precious item is gone. Desire receipts. Let's return to the topic of numbers. Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky at United Center tickets for the June 7th game were about $86 before Caitlin Clark's injury was announced. But after hearing that she would be out, prices drastically dropped to about $25, a 71% decrease. Fever against Mystics in Baltimore, originally billed as the biggest WNBA game in the city's history. The Atlanta Dream versus Indiana Fever matchup at Gateway Center Arena is now filling the lower bowl with discount codes. The cost of tickets has changed. However, the present data does not provide precise numbers describing the 48-hour reduction from $85 to $17. These decreases are not gradual. These nosedives are emergency situations. Additionally, the teams are attempting everything. Even courtside seat giveaways are attempting to conceal Clark's absence from advertising, promoting the Indiana Fever vs. Sky game without mentioning Caitlin's name in the hopes that casual fans won't realize she's not there. Spoiler alert. They didn't notice and aren't buying. The advertising environment that was developed around Clark is also declining, not simply ticket sales. Stephanie White was talking about the quad issue that Caitlin Clark has.
And we, Sophie had injury early as well. I think it's the advantage of us, the depth that we added in the offseason, that we're equipped. Certainly we'd rather have it early than late. It's a great opportunity for our team to find an identity. It's a great opportunity for our team to play in a different way. And I also think it's a great opportunity for Caitlin to watch the game from the sideline and to grow in almost like a coaching kind of mindset.
However, we must not overlook the toxic social media community that genuinely rejoiced over Clark's injury. You and I witnessed it. Quotation, tweets filled with clapping emojis, laughing gifs, and "this is what she deserves" comments from fans from verified accounts from people who call themselves ambassadors of the women's game. One fan wrote, "Angel Reef fans are in heaven after seeing this." A second person added, "Exciting news for Reef fans." Fortunately, the WNBA can rely on a variety of likable stars like Angel Reese and AJ Wilson while Caitlin Clark is injured, one fan remarked. Let that sink in. The WNBA failed to stop a culture of Clark harassment. They are currently witnessing the online explosion of that carelessness digital reflection. In addition to failing to safeguard its biggest star, the league created a fan base that is now applauding her absence. That is not just repulsive, but also harmful. It tells aspiring athletes that the league won't support them. And who wants to represent this league without star protection? Let's take a moment to discuss basketball. When Clark is playing, the Indiana Fever's offensive rating is 107.5. When she is not, it is 82.2. It's not a dip. That is a collapse. That's the statistical equivalent of suddenly dropping from a postseason contender to a bottom feeder. Stephanie White, the coach, is acting courageously. discussing chances for learning and identity development, and sure, maybe there's a silver lining in allowing other players like Aaliyah Boston or Kelsey Mitchell more reps, let's face it. Though, there was a reason why people weren't shelling out $200 per ticket to see Aaliyah Boston post-ups. This league and this team were founded during the Caitlin Clark era. Now what? What would happen if Clark didn't return fully recovered? What if this injury persists? What if she recovers more slowly than anticipated or, worse, sustains another injury? Do the networks continue to broadcast Fever games during prime time? Do teams continue to spend money on national promotions and larger venues? Do casual fans, the ones who just discovered the league because of Clark's stick-around early indicators, indicate that ratings won't decline? Attendance at the arena will plummet. Sales of merchandise will slow. And it might be years before the WNBA receives another opportunity at this level of attention unless league executives, team owners, or the players themselves take action to change the culture that permitted this to occur. As fans are saying, racism in the league makes it unwatchable as well. Then, I started watching the WNBA when Caitlin Clark started playing because she was such an incredible talent. It had nothing to do with race, but watching her get fouled so badly in every game made it impossible to watch because of the obvious black-on-white hatred for her. Since everyone in the league despises her, I genuinely don't understand how she can continue to play. Perhaps this is the wake-up call, the alarm going off so loudly that the league can no longer ignore it. Keep your stars safe. Adjust the officiating. The WNBA got everything they ever wanted when Caitlin Clark joined the league, and now they're seeing it slide through their fingers. Stop acting like everything is fine while your star player is targeted and hurt while you're looking on. Even though Clark's injuries is severe, there may still be hope for him. She is anticipated to miss 2 to 4 weeks, possibly longer, but the league will have another opportunity if she returns healthy. A second opportunity to mend what went wrong, declaring that star protection is a need, regaining the confidence of supporters, sponsors, and media outlets, as well as realizing that the Clark effect is the new cornerstone of your league, and not just a fad, are all important for the future of women's sports. Caitlin Clark introduced the WNBA to millions of new viewers. She provided the league with something they had never had mainstream cultural relevance for, and she converted skeptics into ticket buyers. How did the league react? They let her to be beaten up. They allowed the referees to ignore them. They let jealous players take cheap shots, and now they're paying the price. The cost of tickets is skyrocketing. Ratings are about to plummet. The narrative is slipping. This goes beyond a single injury. This is about a league that was given a fantastic opportunity at last and almost blew it when things got tough. The question is straightforward. Will they take this as a lesson, or will they let everything to collapse once more? Because the WNBA only recently discovered what it truly is without Caitlin Clark, and that fact is terrifying at the moment. If you think the WNBA ought to protect its stars, smash that like button, please share this video and leave a comment underneath. For more uncensored perspectives, subscribe. Tell us if the league can continue without Caitlin Clark, or if this is the start of the